Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you today.
Hi.
All right. Hi. Okay, so you were just letting people in here, and I'm Manisha. I'm the founder of Modulo. We invited Brandon here today, and it turns out that a lot of people love axolotls. Am I saying that right, Brandon? We had 150 kids RSVP to this workshop. And so while that's really exciting, we also unfortunately can't let everybody talk during the workshop because there's just going to be too many people talking over each other, but it's still going to be really interactive. And so we wanted to give you guys a chance to see each other and say hello, but we also decided this workshop is going to be cameras off. So we would love if you could just turn off your camera after you've had a chance to wave at everybody. But we are really excited to have this group, and there's going to be ways that you can connect with each other and make friends after the workshop. So this is not the first time we see each other in person. But Brandon can share with you more. But Brandon, like some kids, sometimes has a little bit of trouble when people are turning off and on their camera. It makes it difficult for him to focus. And he's just learned that it helps him best to learn and to teach when the cameras are off. So we just want to ask you to keep your cameras off, stay muted, and I also love playing around and turning my camera on and off and putting different backgrounds. But if you do that too many times, we're going to have to maybe move you out of the Zoom just because it's so hard for Brandon to concentrate. So just asking if everybody can be respectful today and keep their cameras off and stay muted. Can we all agree to that? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. So, Brandon, as I said, I'm the founder of Modulo, and I really love Brandon. I think he's a really fun science teacher, and I like how he gives people the chance to think about things in new ways that they haven't thought about before. And he told me that a lot of kids really love axolotls. So here he is to do a fun interactive workshop on axolotls. And if you're interested in the classes afterwards, this is for your parents. We're going to give you a discount code if you want to sign up for today. We just want you to enjoy. So without further ado, I'm going to turn off my camera so I can be a good student and take it away, Brandon.
Thank you very, very much, Manisha. Okay, everybody, go ahead and on the count of three, if your camera is not already off, turn your camera off. Not yet. Was I muted that entire time? Oh my. Everyone, thank you very much for coming here today. We have so the heck many people here. If you don't have your camera off, please do turn your camera off. We're not going to have your cameras on today because a meeting with like 150 people with their cameras on, that's not making anybody less insane in this world. That's only going in the opposite of those directions. We're going to do a science class. It's not going to be like science classes sometimes are. Oftentimes when people do science classes, it's like, here's a bunch of information. Now you have a bunch of information in you. Yay! We can go home now. Rather, what we are about to do is sort of like go on this intellectual adventure together where I am going to ask you just one question. And that one question is going to take us down some very strange places indeed. I am not even going to tell you the answer. You're going to come up with the answer together. You're going to come up with the answer by working together, not by unmuting yourself, not by raising your Zoom hands, not by turning your cameras on. No, 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 but rather by doing the chats. Do you know how to use the chats? If you know how to use the chats, on the count of three, please type in the Y button. 3, 2, 1, and then hit enter. Y. Nice, nice. Look at this. Look at this. This is a lot of people who think they know how to use Zoom. And I believe you, the Zoom chat, and I believe you because you're using the Zoom chat. Okay. Here. What the heck? Let me just, oh, I'm going to turn the chat off then. Very good. So I'll kind of turn this on and off. Let me just go over to the riddle of the day. The riddle of the day is nothing more or less than the following. Oh, hey, I have this piece of paper here. It's not actually a piece of paper. Don't worry. No trees were. I tried to make the word murdered and brutally into one word. So I almost said the word brutally. No, brutal, myrtle. That was an interesting place to be inside of my brain for a second there. I have this fake paper. It's over there. This fake paper that is right here that I'm going to do some drawing on. If you, here, you can actually just say this in a second. Would you like to do the draw? I'm going to do a bunch of drawings. A little bit of writing, some note taking, just a little bit, but mostly just drawings. I'm a sort of person who thinks that many people learn better when they are drawing things. On the count of three, would you like to draw along with this or not? Y for yes, N for O, or for no. That was a weird thing to say too. It's kind of neat. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and chat it in. Go. Wonderful. Everyone who's saying no, you're good. Everything is fantastic for you. Happy Saturday. Oh, I thought I'd hit the actual recording button for this. Well, there's a couple different recordings going on. I'm gonna hit the official recording button. I'm hitting this recording button kind of late in the day. So just for those of you who are watching the recording of this, just imagine that you missed the utterly best part of everything. I am so sorry. It's not true though, so there's that for you. Great. So for those of you who said that you did want to take notes, can I recommend like getting a piece of paper or two, probably 2 pieces of paper will suffice right now. I'm going to give you 20 seconds to get that. And while I give you guys 20 seconds to do that, I'm going to work on my humming. Boo boo bum bum ba-dum ba-dum. Okay, now this is gonna get serious again. Here's the riddle of the day. Everything is going to be about this. You can write this in if you want, like the first part of your page. You can take your page if you want, like take it, like fold it in half, not like a hot dog, but like a hamburger, famously like this. And then like on this page, you can like write down this thing that I'm about to write down. What is an I'm afraid right now to say this word out loud because this is one of those words that it just makes people angry when you say it out loud. Do you guys know how to pronounce this? Here, go ahead and like you can chat in your best guess for like the phonetic pronunciation of it. So if you think that it should be like, I don't know. I guess you do it like ax, la, tul. You can type that in. If you think of something totally different, you can type that in. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Go for it. Axolotl, axolotl, axolotl. Duh. Oh, au contraire, mon Nick. Not duh. Quite difficult. Axolotl, axolotl. Thank you, Sage Chameleon. Axolotl, 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 axolotl. Some other versions of this. Some of you are just spelling it correctly. That's not spelling it phonetically. That's just correctly. Okay. So here's the deal. If you ask any English speaker, how do you pronounce this word? They will all to a person say axolotl, because there's the X there. Look, it's got axe, chop, chop, chop. Puts it right in the word there. It turns out that there's only one place in the world that this animal is native to. And that place is, I'm sorry, do you know where this place is? Here, 5 seconds. Chat it in. Oh, you guys don't know? This is very exciting. The answer is Mexico. But you don't pronounce it Mexico if you're in Mexico. Mexico, M-E-X, the letter X in Spanish generally, some drift on this, generally gets the shh sound. So it's not Mexico, it's Mexico. Well, that's with an H sound, isn't it? And the shh. Okay, so here's the deal. If you go to Mexico and you ask people how to pronounce this animal, what they will all say is something like ash, lot, yeah, sure, lot, tull. Axolotl. Axolotl. So for years, I have been telling people that this kind of animal was named the axolotl, and I've been like, you got to say it right, everybody. It's really important. And then I actually looked this up, which I never should have done. And it turns out that this animal was not named by by Spanish speakers originally. This was, I'm sorry, do you know anything about I think I have some pictures in here somewhere for this. Do you know anything about the Aztec? So here, this is a picture of Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan is the capital of was the capital of the Aztec Empire. It was one of the greatest cities, most beautiful cities, famously in the history of the world for really interesting reasons. It was run by the Aztecs, and the Aztecs spoke a language called Nahuatl. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm probably pronouncing that terribly wrong. Nahuatl, something like that. And they had a god who they called, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to get it right. There's no way I can possibly get this right. Oh no, it's just Xolotl, 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 Xolotl. He was a kind of a god. He was the twin brother. There's a lot of twin brothers in Mayan and Aztec and Olmec society and mythology. The twin brother of Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl, if you know your dinosaurs, Quetzalcoatl is this non-dinosaur, but dinosaur-like pterosaur, flying giant thing, like a 60-foot wingspan. Incredible, amazing, so cool. Anyway, twin brother of that. He is the god of thunder and mud and dogs and the monsters and the guide of souls to the afterlife. And he was a shapeshifter, and he came out at twilight. And also, people remembered him as being like the god of deformity. So really, he had a lot of interesting things that were going on. Um, yeah. Anyway, so it turns out that Nahuatl, the way that you say that, you're like, Brandon, you haven't even shown us a picture of this animal yet. What is wrong with, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just that the official fancy pants way of saying this, if you want to get it most original, is something like a show loat. A showloat, a showloat, a showloat. If you want to write every one of those down, you totally can. Which of those do you want to say in your head whenever I say one of these? I'm going to actually go back and forth. Can I actually recommend this? That you it helps when you're learning about something to get the word, at least, if not right, then at least like frozen in your head, like beaten into one shape. So I'm going to give you 10 seconds to choose one of these and then to type it in, then turn the chat off. Which of these are going to be how you pronounce it? Axolotl, English. Axolotl, closer to Spanish. Axolotl, closer to Nahuatl. Great, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. However you do that, you are totally correct. And what you should appreciate about this is that you are then going to be able to, for the rest of your life, correct other people on their pronunciation, no matter how they pronounce the word. I've just given you a blank ticket to just being the jerkiest jerk when it comes to axolotls in ever. So you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. From 0 to 10, how much do you feel like you know what an axolotl is? You have 10 seconds. Go. 0 means I have no idea except for how to pronounce it and the fact that they apparently come from Mexico. 10 is I am an axolotl, which that's cool. Wow. I think 10 out of 10. Oh, this is going to be really easy for you. This is fantastic. Oh, a number of you have already taken a bunch of my classes. Hi, everybody that I know already. Hello, other people who are strangers and were therefore scary to me. For those of you who have been in this particular class before, I only ask that you don't tell any of the answers ahead of time. If you'd like to actually make things more spicy for the rest of us, put in fake answers just to confuse the rest of us. Make sense? Hope so, because that should come naturally to you. Okay, here's what we're gonna play a game. This game is me called Tell Me Things That You Know About Axolotls. Axolotl. I'll give you about a minute to do this. Type them in one at a time. What I will be showing you is a bunch of images from you know what I'm gonna do actually? I'm gonna do some images from Wikipedia because that is going to be less fake. Axolotl. Here, go for it. 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 Here is a drawing of an axolotl. That's something. Here is a picture of. Do you guys see why these things are so popular on the internet? These axolotls have taken the world by storm. Everybody loves axolotls. It specifically happened when Minecraft in I can't remember what year came out with their caves and ponds, lakes, something edition, and they had axolotls in here. So I'm here. I'll even do an axolotl Minecraft. Do they make it into the movie? I can't imagine they don't make it into the movie. I have not seen the movie yet, but you can like swim with axolotls, and people really like that. Note the fact that they are different colors, not just in here, but also like in life, which is interesting because when people talk about them, they almost always just talk about them like they are this color, this kind of pink color. This is called leucastic. There, now you know a word. Leukatos or something is the Greek word for whites. So they're kind of whitish. They can be whitish and yellowy, or they can be whitish and pinkish. So that's kind of neat. A couple different variants of these things. I guess you can breed them. People think that these are cute. Actually, I'm curious. From 0 to 10, how cute do you find this animal? 0 would be, ah, no, why? And 10 is, sorry, I'll get a timer for that. How cute do you find these things? Just one chat per, please. Makes it hard to see everybody else's. Fire tablet is, as always, really on top of this. Axolotls can be yellow, gray, marble pattern, dotted pattern, pink, and even almost black. White too. Piebald is what we call it when they're a bunch of different colors. They don't have an axolotl in the movie. I'm gonna boycott it because of that. Oh my gosh, I have a pet axolotl, but my dad didn't feed my axolotl. Did it die? Pets die if you don't feed them. That is the thing that you're supposed to learn about pets. Mossy caves. Okay, yeah, very good. It's an animal. Thank you, Kendra. It is an animal. You're not wrong. You're not wrong about that. Okay, so take a look at the different answers that people have given to this. Omar, I'm going to have to kick you out of class. Please. I'll give you one chance though. Like I said, when you chat something and don't do it a bunch of times, it makes it really hard for the rest of us to read what each other is saying. It's like if you're at a party and a bunch of people were talking to each other and you just jumped into the middle of every conversation and said, it's, which I can tell you from personal experience last month is the sort of thing that will regularly, routinely get you disinvited to future parties. And this one too. It's not an animal, somebody says. Okay, what else do we want to know about these things? What do people know? You guys don't know as much as I thought about the. At least you're not saying it. Maybe you're just keeping them secret. That'd be kind of neat. That'd be fun. So, note that the answers that people gave were really quite bimodal for this, in the sense that like some of them are very low and some of them are very high, not all that many in the middle. There's a mixture of all these. Sorry. Axolotls are really particularly cute from a very particular perspective, which is like that head-on one, especially if they're the leucastic pinky ones. Other ones, not so much. Also, I don't know. It's like that's pretty cute, isn't it? I mean, you could. There's no argument to taste. Okay. Everything that you're saying is more or less correct. They are animals. They're not animals. However, you're missing the most important thing about axolotls. You shouldn't feel bad about this. This is basically whatever happens, what always happens whenever I talk to anyone, children, adults, people with long hair, people with tattoos, people who walk on their hands, any kind of person, truthfully, about, I don't know, anything in science. People always feel like, oh, I know the answer to this. I know all of the answers. This is especially true if you're like I once was, the sort of, I don't know, like science curious kid who like read all the books that the library had that touched on Anything to do with science or animals? At least animals and dinosaurs. I guess dinosaurs are technically a type of animal, weren't they? Huh. Sorry, what? Um, what we're gonna do is peel back the layers, and we are going to understand the deep story of Axolotls. Here. There is an answer to what is an axolotl that is so delightful and so bizarre. It wouldn't just make sense if I told you the answer right now. We're going to tease it out as this goes on. So here's the deal. I'm going to give you 3 clues. If you want to write these down, you totally can. If you don't want to, I'm not your dad. Clue number 1. The ugliest mermaid. Oh. Let's actually just also have this mermaid saying, I'm the best. Okay, great. The ugliest mermaid. Clue number 2. Frog versus newt. If you're lazy like I am, you don't need to write the whole word versus. You can just write down V and S and period and actually realize that that's almost like half as long as writing the whole word versus. So you didn't save that much time. And clue number 3. Peter Pan. I'm sorry. Maybe this is a cultural reference that hasn't worn as well. From 0 to 10, how much do you know about Peter Pan? You say 0, that would mean like I just how to pronounce it, I guess. If you say 10, it's like, I am Peter Pan. I am a lost boy. Wow, you guys here. So good for you for know this. Tons of zillions of movies that have been done of this. This is the first one, I think. Disney got the rights to it pretty early. Book that was written, I don't know, 1901, something like that. And it was the story of this boy who doesn't grow up. It opens with the immortal lines, all children except one grow up, which is like one of the greatest opening lines to a novel in the history of the world. The guy who wrote it, J.M. Barrie, very quickly developed it into a play. Then it was made into a movie and all those sorts of things. So Peter Pan is the boy who's sort of like the elfin child right here. You can see that his ears are pointy. This ties back into a long tradition of English folklore, where the fae, the elves, the fairy, there's another word for this too, are the fair people. There we go. Have long ears and have these kind of magical powers and sort of live in this other world where time can work differently. And he visits this house in London in about 1900 and takes the children there on this adventure to a place called Never Land, where he lives with a group of other people who have boys, the lost boys. They have no girls there. Part of the story, actually. And they kind of his troops or whatever, and they do battle with pirates because, truthfully, why not? What story isn't made better with the introduction of pirates into it? I can't think of one. So, pirates, especially a big pirate named Captain Hook. And there they don't age. Nothing ever changes in Neverland. I can't even remember if there's night or day. I can't, there's something going on about that, I think. But yeah. Okay, great, wonderful. Peter Pan. Peter Pan. Okay, so now that I have given you, come on, there we go. Sometimes it has a hard time with that. Those 3 super relevant, definitely not designed to be a distraction clues. I'm gonna give you 20 seconds. Every person can make one guess. Deep down, what is an axolotl? I'm going to ask that we strip bare our chat conversations with anything that is not a direct answer to the question. For example, unrelated movies that you have seen. I too have seen unrelated movies. I have ADHD. Have I mentioned this? I have really severe ADHD. I have the sort of ADHD where sometimes people who meet me are like, oh, ADHD, it's just this little minor thing and blah, 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 blah. Everybody should have ADHD. And then they meet me. They're like, oh no. Oh my. So I have a very hard time focusing, okay? So don't lay into that. I'm seeing salamander, I'm seeing amphibian, I'm seeing an ugly, never-changing amphibian. I'm seeing it's Peter Pan. Does it fly? Does it have pointy ears? Does it have ears? Does it live in Never Neverland? A hybrid, an amphibian hybrid that doesn't grow up, a fish, ugly mermaid newt that never ages, land and water, salamanders that can breathe on water and on land, a type of amphibian that don't often grow past their child phase, which is why they're commonly pictured as immortal. An ugly frog that is an elf. I like that one. Okay, great. Let me just tell you, there's a couple ways that which you guys are actually you're going toward the right answer. My job is to I will lie to you at least once in this lesson. So just like get over it. But mostly my job is to shepherd us to the real answer to this. So let me not lie and tell you some of the things that you said are right. Yes, they are amphibians. Yes, they are salamanders. Yes, they often don't grow past their child phase. Yes, they're not immortal. But there's something interesting. So it turns out that axolotls, do you know how, like, if you ever like chop off your leg, it just grows right back, right? I mean, who among us has not accidentally lost a leg and then just like it hurts, you cry, and like the next morning, like, boop, it's back. Well, let me tell you, that was not true. That was here. Hold on, I can't even go on. Don't do that. Don't chop off body parts. They don't grow back at all. Ask me how I know that one. Um, but they do for axolotls. If they lose a finger, it grows back. If they lose a hand, it grows back. If they lose an entire limb, it usually grows back. If they lose part of their heart, not the entire thing, they will die, it will grow back. If they lose part of their brain, do you think it grows back? Here, 10 seconds, yes or no, go. Dang it, most of you guys got that one right. Yeah, it actually grows back. Depends on the part of the brain, which I think is really interesting, and I don't know why that is. So axolotls are being axolotl medicine. Shallows are being investigated in by doctors, by scientists to understand what the heck. Like, how do they do this? How do they do this? Yesterday, as in a store, I saw a man who had zero legs, below the knee, right? Like, this is a thing that happens. It turns out a lot. I don't know any real numbers in this, but like, I would not be surprised if most people, like before like 100 years ago or 50 years ago, if most people by the end of their life, they were missing part of their body. It's really common for animals in the wild to lose parts of their body too, right? It's a rough, difficult world. And now we are really good at making prosthetics, right? Metal, carbon, nanofiber, carbon fiber, all these sorts of things like arms and hands and fingers and legs, feet. Um, they're not great. They're amazing, but they're still not good enough for the people who have suffered these things. Wouldn't it be cool if you could know that if you were ever in a situation where, I don't know, a bear ate your foot? It's not usually how it happens, but that can happen. if you could grow that foot back. I'm sorry, that sounded rhetorical, but I mean that as a real question. From 0 to 10, 0 being no, which is an acceptable response that you can have, to 10, yeah, I would take that, and I want other people to have that option too. Where do you fall on that? 10 seconds. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Okay. We have a couple people who are like 7, 6, one who's 2, and a few people who are 0. A couple people here are 0. And everybody else is just a straight up 10. The beautiful thing about society is that people don't actually usually force treatments on you. So you can choose if that is the case. But we have doctors, we have scientists working really hard, actually, on trying to figure out how axolotls do this. There's a weird way in which axolotls are are nigh invulnerable. But then there's something weird. Because they're so invulnerable, how well, because they can grow things, they're not like encased in steel or something, but because they're so, they can grow limbs back. How well do you think that they're doing in, their march to conquer the world? 10 means like they're doing amazing. They're an invasive species, but they're like spreading everywhere. 0 means that they are extinct and everywhere but the wild. 10 seconds. Go for it. You think they're doing really well, but it turns out if you go to the Wikipedia page for Axolotls, you find that their conservation status is critically endangered. Critically endangered. I guess I can't zoom into this. Can you see this? You probably can't. Let me do this. This is not ended up being a good way of showing this. And just a second, let me do bloopity 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 bloop. This, here we go. Good enough. So, least concern is like deer. Deer used to be kind of endangered. Now they're not. I'm talking North America. Extinct. Okay, so they're not extinct. EW means extinct in the wild. They only live in zoos and pet shops and whatever. That's not them, but they are nearly there. They're not doing well at all. How do those two things go together? This animal that's nigh invincible? This animal that like you just like try your best to kill it. You're like a pirate, say, like slice at it and chop it off. It just keeps growing parts back of its body back. Do you know how it's almost extinct? You're like, wait, what? Really? Okay. We will figure this out. Are they immune to cancer? I haven't heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me. Honestly, nothing surprised me about the Sholos. They're really amazing. Okay. Let's talk about this. First, chapter 1. You're wondering why is there a picture of an axolotl that is there that, if you tell, look closely, has ears? Because that is definitely a picture of an axolotl. That is right. Okay, so some of you had guessed that a axolotl is an amphibian. How much do you feel like you understand what an amphibian? No, don't even do that. Just what is an amphibian? I'm gonna give you 20 seconds. What is an amphibian? Go for it. You get one chance at this. One chance. Something that lives in the water. So if I move my family to the water, I become an amphibian. Wiley and your tautologies. Can live in land and out of water. So if I move my family to the water half the time, if we go to the pool every day, my family's actually at a pool right now, I believe. Like we went to it half the time, would we become amphibians? Is a fish an amphibian? A seal lives in the land and in the water. Is it an amphibian? We actually used to use the word amphibian for that. Um, we use actually still the word amphibious to describe things that are like seals. Can breathe underwater. Oh, it gets complicated. What do I want to say for this? This is from one of the best, maybe one of the three best science books that I've ever read on any topic in science. Grandmother Fish by Jonathan Tweet and Karen Lewis did the illustrations. It's for preschoolers, and frankly, if you're not in preschool, you still might want to get it. It's really, really good when it comes when it's about showing phylogeny. It does some things with phylogenetics that I wish more scientists knew how to do. Um, Maybe we should interview him at some point. Okay, what this does is it shows the evolution of life as best as we can put it together, and this is actually really good. This is actually does a really good job of it. First, there was I don't know something kind of like bacteria, single cell, and then there were plants and animals. Fungus split off from this plant split off first, and then animals split off. Then, oh, that's not exact. In some ways, it's not exactly, but it's how do you? Huh, okay, whatever. Okay, sorry. Jellyfishes break off. Um, Basically, bugs, both of the squishy and non-squishy varieties, break off from that. We go into this world that includes starfish, and then we go into the world that includes fish, jawless fish, and then I don't know, just like all the fish that we talk about. We go to sharks. Sharks and rays have their thing right here. And then we go into basically all of the fishes that we think about these days as fishes, which includes things like eels and goldfishes and salmon and swordfishes and bass and I don't know, just all of the things. And then we go into this random branch of fish that you've never heard of before. I'm sorry, have you heard of lungfish before? Have you heard of lobe-finned fish like coelacanths and lungfish before? I'm just curious. 10 seconds, go for it, just yes or no. I can actually also find some pictures of this lobe-finned fish. Ba-do-ba-do-ba-do. The most famous one maybe is the coelacanth, which is dumb because it turns out that you are also a type of lobe-finned fish. So you got that going for you. But for reasons, the one that everyone thinks is the coelacanth. Here's the lungfish. They're neat too. This is a tiktaalik. This is a tiktaalik right there. Yeah, great. So then out of this like type of lobe-finned fishes comes this one that happens to live on land and it becomes a reptile. Its descendants are reptiles, and then this gives you everything in the realm of other reptiles and other reptiles. Dinosaurs are here, also crocodiles, but then dinosaurs are here, pterosaurs are on that, and then you get birds off of here. So a bird is a type of dinosaur, is a type of reptiles, a type of fish, is a type of I'll just kind of go back to that right now. And then we also get like, okay, like from these reptiles, we get mammals, and then we kind of go on to there, and we get some other things, and ultimately ends up with you. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? This is a science class. We're talking about axolotls. We're talking about amphibians. Did you see amphibians on here? Carrie, you're carrying on a side conversation. You're carrying on a side conversation. Please don't do that, as I had requested earlier. Manisha, if you'd be willing to kick Carrie out if they do that again, that would help me out a lot. And thank you very much. Okay. You guys will get chances to apparently hang out and become friends and meet each other after this. This is actually like part of Manisha's giant world domination plan of doing really wonderful things to people and helping them experience learning and other interested people who are interested in learning a lot. So look forward to that. Don't get kicked out if you want to really kind of maximize that. Sorry, we're talking about amphibians. Did you see amphibians on here? Amphibians are little this one little thing that comes halfway between other fish and reptiles. And you see frogs in here. This is the way we usually tell the story about what an amphibian is. That's it's like between the fish, between the reptiles. It's like, yeah, that's what an amphibian is. Is that correct? Yes or no, 10 seconds, go. Is an amphibian halfway between fish and reptiles? Fire Tablet says, maybe I think, and I think that my answer is probably maybe I think. There's this sort of thing that I'm supposed to do as a science teacher. I'm supposed to say, no, no, absolutely, no. They're their own unique thing. They're not supposed to, but really, come on. Yeah, yeah, kind of. Yes. That's the deep story to understand about this. What is wrong about this picture, though, is not that they're coming off halfway between, which is technically true and really the important thing, but also it's the fact that it looks like a small little bitsy thing on here. Ladies and gentlemen, amphibians are not some sort of like afterthought to the story of life. Amphibians are one of the main pieces of it. So, not anymore, but it used to be before the dinosaurs. I'm talking about the Carboniferous. I'm talking about the Devonian. The animals that ruled the earth before the reptiles were amphibians. So this is a diplocaulus. Diplo means two, caulus means what is called head, caul, the kind of webbing we thought was behind its head, right? This is like 3 feet long. That's the length of a lightsaber. So we can imagine on here that there is like a lightsaber like next to this. 1 meter is one lightsaber. 3 feet is about a meter. Let's be evil. Great. They are about as long as a lightsaber. So on the floor next to you right now, I want you to imagine you have a lightsaber, light on the lightsaber, and then you see a diplocaulus, crawling up to the lightsaber next to the lightsaber to kind of sniff it. Don't worry, it's not going to get hurt. It's not going to get hurt. That, ladies and germs, is a really big amphibian. They got bigger. This is an Areops. Areopses got 6 feet long. So imagine, I don't know, like a tall person. I'm 6 foot. I'm pretty tall for a man. Imagine me lying, I don't know, tall man that you know, like lying down on the floor. And now imagine the Areops like lying on top of him. Few women are that tall. I think I'm like 93rd percentile for men, something like that. So there you go. So you didn't want to mess with an Areops. That was the largest that ancient amphibians, thank goodness, ever got. Do you believe me? I'm not doing a good job of lying to you today because most of you are seeing through this. So the largest one that we ever found. Oh, one of us asks, how do we know? Because we find their bones. We find their bones and their large bones. The largest one we've ever found, called Mastodonsaurus. Mastodon, like a woolly mammoth, very closely related to what we call a woolly mammoth. Mastodonsaurus giganteus. These got to be 20 feet long. 20 feet is, well, I don't know. It's like the size of a room. This was a big amphibian. This is not a dinosaur. This is before the dinosaurs, but it could have eaten some of the major reptiles that existed before the dinosaurs. Um, this is a delightful animal and something that you should definitely try to clone if we can bring back ancient animals from the end, from the past. Do you believe me now that this is actually the largest? Quick, 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 quick. There's actually at least one that's larger. If you want to know more about this, just Google ancient or prehistoric amphibians, and you will find things that you will not forget. There were animals that were like, I don't know, 10 times the mass of a mastodonsaurus. 10 times the mass of its. Ah! Okay, great, wonderful. Why are we talking about this? Oh, because we're talking about amphibians. Isn't a axolot an amphibian? Quick, 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 quick. It's not a dinosaur, even though it has saurus at the end of it. It's not a dinosaur. Saurus just means lizard, and there's actually a lot of things that are called saurus. But I think we used to think we're dinosaurs or a type of lizard, a type of reptile. But it turns out we're not. Um, yeah, we totally are. Yeah, yeah. What an a sholo is something that is descended from something like that. Its great 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 grandma may have been a mastodonsaurus, but now they're just really here. Do we have a picture of one in the hand? I don't think we do. Here, so, an axolotl is small. Usually, they're between like 3 and 6 inches long. You can get ones that are up to a foot long. Do I have a? Ah, nope. Sorry. Wrong thing. Wrong thing. Wrong thing. You can get ones that are up to a foot long. You can even get ones that are a foot and a half long. Those are really rare. I don't know this for a fact. Maybe some of you who have axolotls know this, but I think they're one of these types of animals that never stop growing. Just a lot of animals are like that. They just grow more and more slowly. So if you can get one that's old enough, I think you can get one that becomes that size. Not totally sure about that. We're talking about amphibians. We're talking about amphibians. There are three types of amphibian that are still alive today. One of them is frogs. What are the other two? You have 10 seconds. Go. Yes, that was an eyeball. It wasn't a real eyeball. It was a real piece of styrofoam, which is like an eyeball, but different. But it is the size of a giant squid's eyeball. Axolotl, I'm seeing a lot of people will say here, so lizard. No, a lizard is a type of reptile, different than amphibians. Salamanders and newts. A newt is a type of salamander. I forget the difference between them. I think newts have bumpy skin or something like that. I've seen salamander and axolotl. An axolotl is a type of salamander, as is a newt. They're actually different. There's like a bunch of different types of newts. I'm sorry, I think I wrote this down somewhere. There's like here. I'm sorry, I can show you. Look, I prepared a picture for this. So the first is frogs. There's like 500 different, not even species of frogs. There's 500 different genera of frogs. That's a lot of different types of frogs. Like every one, like you look at like, oh yeah, that's definitely a different kind of frog. A really fun question is how many types of frogs are there around you, and what are the types of them? I will say that there are definitely more types of frogs around you wherever you live than you probably know about. I live in Rochester, Minnesota. We are zillions of miles away from anything that resembles a rainforest. I just found a tree frog a couple of weeks ago. At night, they only come out at night. Tiny little bright green tree frog. So cool. Okay, sorry. So there are frogs. Then there are salamanders. I have a picture of a here. Let me look at pictures of salamanders. Salamanders, you're the one that makes bath time so much fun. Salamander, somebody put one of you in my bath. There's a salamander. Do do boop be doo. Do 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 do. Here, you know what? I'm going to tell you more about salamanders in a minute. Those are salamanders. Oh, I'm going to show you the pictures of newts. Just a second. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Ba 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 da. See, their skin is bumpy. But basically, they're just a type of salamander. Da 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 ba da ra ba ra ba. Here, Cute or not? Sorry, 0 to 10, ugly to cute. 5 is like neutral. Go. Yes, axolotls are a type of salamander. They're one specific species of salamander called an axolotl. They actually have a scientific name, which I'll tell it to you at some point. I can tell you right now. And that's what their name is. I'm not I'm a fan of some names, but not this one. Ambystoma mexicanum. Ambystoma mexicanum. Mexicanum because they're from Mexico. Ambystoma. Stoma means, what does stoma mean? That sounds like a question from my marvelous friend, Pirate ChatGPT. So what I'm about to do is show you how to use ChatGPT. Here's how you use ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT! I'd like you to act as a pirate and tell me what is the origin of the scientific name of the axolotl? Specifically, tell me the story of who came up with it, but talk like a pirate and talk in like a sea shanty verse. Thank you very much. Why do I have that song in my head? Some song Rubber Ducky from Sesame Street. This is gonna be so long. Oh my gosh. Oh, could you give me like a one stanza version of that, please? Because that was a lot. Oops. Then I said oops. That's kind of embarrassing. Aye, aye, Captain. Here's the short and punchy shanty verse you asked for. Axolotl, the god with the dog's grim face, fled from death to a watery place, turned to a creature with gills that sprout, and that's why Axolotl came about. It's not, that in no way tells us the origin of the name. Also, I was singing that to Baby Beluga, which I'm confident is not a sea shanty. That was not about the name of the origin of the name. What is the species name part of it mean? You tell me what axolotl means, but the whole species and genus name is Ambystoma mexicanum. Tell me that story, you fool. Yeah, I called it a fool. Stand by it. Ambystoma means a mouth that I don't even know what a sea shanty is, I think. Oh my gosh. Ambystoma means a mouth that won't show, from Greek roots where blunt mouth tails grow, and Mexicanum, that part be plain, it hails from the lakes of the Mexican plain. So hoist up your flax to them lab-coated folk who named this wee beastie with tongue-clogging smoke. The genus be Ambystoma, sly as a fox, a clan full of mole newts and burrowing shocks. Okay, okay. We're gonna give up on this. This is a terrible failure. Let's just pretend that I'm able to pay attention to something. Um, what is the third kind of amphibian? Frogs? Frogs and toads. It's one. Salamanders and newts. Really just salamanders. Includes axolotls. That's the others. Does anybody know what the third kind is? I will give you just 10 seconds. Are newts poisonous? I don't know. You should start licking some and find out. I don't recommend doing that. The Greeks used to think that they were born in fire, like the phoenix or something, that they could survive fire. Honestly, they cannot. If there's any animal that would be, I would just think like in danger of being burned really easily, it might be like a newt. It's just they have nothing against fire. Just terrible. No one knows this. If I say Sicilian, do you know what I'm talking about? So Sicily is a part of the world that is. Sorry. Sicily is a part of the world that is an island shaped like a triangle that is in Italy, right off the coast of Italy. This is the island of Sicily. It is being kicked by the boot that is Italy. Ow, it says all the time. Sicilians are people who come from there. However, the word Sicilian is also spelled totally different, but pronounced, I think, exactly the same. Other third type of amphibian. It looks very little like frogs or salamanders. Do you want to see a picture of this? I'm going to take your answers to this seriously. I will do whatever you say for this. Michelle, can I recommend that you look away from the screen right now? This is a Sicilian. This is also an amphibian. This is the third kind of amphibian. They are not extinct. This is a real thing that you can go to some parts of the world. I think mostly they live in the tropics. I think mostly they live in the tropics. So by the equator, you could like look under some moss or something and find some Sicilians. And you're like, yeah, but it's just like a worm with like a weird face. Well, first of all, you will never forget that for the rest of your life. That picture will haunt you. Sicilian. But the part that I love the most is this part. They have tiny little bones. They have tiny little bones all over. More like snakes than worms. They look just like worms. They're so weird. Okay, great, wonderful. What I want to quick draw. You do not need to actually draw along to this, but if you want, you can. Bloop, 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 bloop. I'm gonna at the top of this write down the word amphibians. I am, it turns out, really good at drawing dinosaurs and really bad at drawing everything that's not a dinosaur. The secret is just to make it look like a dinosaur, but that has its limits, right? So I'm going to try to trace a frog right here, and you're going to laugh at me. Your job is to laugh at me. Here's its eye, and then it's this, and then its back. It has a kind of a bump there, and its leg just does not make any sense to me at all. I don't even know what to do with that. And then it has these three really splayed out toes. And then one arm that goes like this. You know, I've dissected a frog before. I part of seventh grade, eighth grade science, seventh grade science. What I learned was the very important scientific principle that I don't like science. I'm not against people dissecting frogs or dissecting other animals. I dissect animals, I don't know, somewhat regularly and pay attention to the things, but I find ways of doing so that are not maximally disgusting. So salamander has a body. Honestly, it just looks like a lizard. It just looks like a lizard. Big long tail, 4 feet. Doop doop. Eyes right there. Great, wonderful. There we go. I'm gonna draw an evolutionary tree, and I'm gonna draw. Here's a line going to this one. Here's a line to go into this one. You know what? Let's also draw the earliest one to split away, which is just that. That's Sicilian. Which otherwise just looks like a worm. If you'd like to color this, then you are a person like me. I like to draw, whenever I do green, I like to put down a yellow base. Just makes it look better. And then I will, I don't know, there's a bunch of ones that we saw that were orange, so I guess put it on a yellow base for that too, because it will make it look cool. And then I will choose some of this, and then I will go like this. I think this one might be called a fire salamander because it can live through fire. It's not true. Not true. Blah, 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 blah. And then we have fish going down beneath this. Fish. We have reptiles kind of breaking off on the other side there. Okay, great, wonderful. Oh, you could write down like frogs and such if you want. If that's a thing you want to do, well, that's a thing you can do. Turns out, frogs, salamanders, and C-A, C-A-E, C-A-E-C-E-L-I-E ans. I think I actually got that one right. Okay, great. Wonderful. Whoosh, whoosh, wah. Do you know what an amphibian is yet? I actually do. I'm actually not sure that you do. I think can I just say that I feel like I did a pretty bad job here of like leading you to a deep understanding of what amphibians are. Now that's okay because you can memorize the definition for what an amphibian is, and you can like really understand that definition even, and you will never really understand what amphibians are unless you understand like what lots of different amphibians are. Present, past. Okay, great, wonderful. We said that they're halfway. They're kind of like they're halfway between the fish and the reptiles. Hmm. List facts that are true of all amphibians. 20 seconds, go. Now that you kind of know what they include. They're animals, true, but also bears. They are aquatic, true, but also fish. They do stuff, true, but also bears. Water and land, there's something there. They need to keep their skin wet. That's really important. Their skin cannot hold in moisture. They breathe underwater, so do fish. Land and water, they are slimy. It's true, they are. It's an interesting thing. People oftentimes think that, oh, reptiles are so slimy. No. Name a reptile that that's true for. I don't think there is one. Amphibians are always slimy. Totally true fact about amphibians. They keep themselves wet. They need to be around water. They are water-loving things. Lives land and water, breathes underwater. Go in water. So can your dog. Okay. Here, I'm gonna do a weird thing where I'm going to give you a hint for the answer to what's in a axolotl. Um, a blank noun, blank hyphen noun, who a number noun, who verb in the noun. Do you know what Mad Libs are? This is a little, a kind of, sort of, a little bit, like Mad Libs. Who verb in the noun, comma. I'm trying to think if I want to actually change the answer to make it better. Yeah, this is good. But verbed to, oh, that's the wrong button. I think I've actually made that mistake before. But verbed to become a a adjective noun in a, sorry about this, adjective noun. Would anyone like to tell me? Guess any of this. 20 seconds. Go for it. I'm not tying these together as well as I want to. Usually when I teach a lesson, I teach it 5 times over the course of 3 days. And the first time is always like, what is going on here? Ah! Some people really like that. And the last time, it is like a slick, well greased production. This is the third time that I've taught it, and I haven't taught it. The other 2 times that I taught it were like a month and a half ago. Like so, like this is like me going like, hold it together, Brandon. An amphibian is part of this, but it's not. But it's not. One of us says, "Who cares?" You, sir, are not in the place that you want to be right now. It's okay. You can go. This isn't like one of those things that you're obligated by a judge to do. You can just go. It's okay. It's fine. It's nice. You're free now. You're free. I'm gonna do this, and I don't know. I'll choose the darker purple. I feel like I'm not doing a good job here. But anyone want to guess anything from this? You can also, you're free to stay, but don't be rude. You're not free to do that. Welcome to Earth. Yeah, nice. Half fish, half reptile. See, but we said that a few minutes ago. This is where I'm not doing a good job, honestly. This is just me not doing a good job of bringing these things together. Let me show you this. Amphibians are marked by a few different things that make them really special as animals. One of them is that they have really thin skin. I don't mean like they're like, no, please don't make fun of me. That's sometimes what the phrase thin-skinned means. I mean, they have thin skin. Your skin can keep water out. Their skin cannot keep water out because it's so thin. It's built differently, but a lot of it is just the fact that it's thin. Um, do they lay eggs? I should say they don't always lay eggs, but they usually lay eggs. And when they lay eggs, there's something unusual about an amphibian's eggs. Does anybody know what that is? I'll give you a hint. This is one amphibian's eggs. There are a lot of them. No, not like thin, like 1 nanometer. 1 nanometer is like about the size of a big atom, right? I mean thin, like I don't know, a micrometer, micro two. No, because like 2 micrometers is the size of a bacterium, probably like 100 micrometers. Or mass in their body. I mean, except she used to have all these inside of herself, right? So that's interesting. Look more closely at the eggs. The first one was from a frog. I think this one is actually from a salamander. I will also say, though, that it's hard to tell sometimes. Also, Sicilians have eggs like this. It's hard to tell sometimes. Oh, man, you see that little bug that's on top of the egg there? That's weird. Oh, man, I never noticed that before. I love it. You have you have eggs. You perhaps eat eggs, chicken eggs, duck eggs, whatever, perhaps not. But if you do, they have something that these sorts of eggs just never, ever, 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 ever have. That's interesting. Emily, you find this cute. This actually hits the ugly button for me. It's close. It's close. Something about the fact that you can see their veins. I don't know. Yeah, no shell. They have no shell. I find that interesting. You don't need to find that interesting. You can think whatever you want. Turns out that lots of animals have eggs with no shells. Shellless eggs. But there's one other thing that is true of almost every amphibian. Some of them have grown out of it. It's kind of weird. Um, it's about what they look like when they're babies. What does a baby frog look like? What does a baby salamander look like? So sometimes, I don't know. I know people be like, "Oh, look, it's a baby frog." Now, honestly, no, but it might be a very young frog. They do get bigger as they get older. Here is an actual picture of a baby frog. And you're like, that's just a picture of a fish. Yeah, it almost sort of is, isn't it? Baby salamander. Yeah, just a small salamander. It was like, look, it's a baby. Might be young. In truth, it might be young. But also, that is not the best picture. It's not the worst picture either. That is a baby salamander. You're like, that's just a fish. Yeah, that's why before I was really big on saying in many different ways. An amphibian is halfway between a fish and a reptile. They are the things that do the fish thing when they're babies, and they do the reptile things when they're older. Should I have mentioned that right now? I feel like I maybe am going ahead of myself. That's fine. That's fine. Here, go like this and then draw here. That's I will draw a salamander here. And then I will draw a tadpole, which just basically looks like, oftentimes they have a tail. Boop. It's kind of ugly. Let me do those eyes a bit better. There we go. Right there. This is the essence of being an amphibian. There's no such thing as an essence of being an amphibian, but that's pretty good. It'd be a pretty good standard for this. Baby. I try to use blue for labels. Baby. Adult. They are like, it's kind of an interesting point, so I will actually do it in green. They do the fish thing when they're babies. They do the reptile thing when they are adults. Good gracious me. Let's pretend this is going really well because it kind of is. Because it sort of is. I feel like the part that I didn't get to though was that next part, but that's fine. That's fine. Here, I gave you a chance to guess at this before. Let me just jump then to chapter 2, and I want to ask the question, what is a salamander exactly? Like a salamander is a type of amphibian. But what makes a salamander different from a frog? Let's actually just leave out Sicilians right now because they're terrifying monsters that means from the old days. They're not. They're really small. They would be though if they were bigger. But like, what is the big difference between a salamander and a frog? Here. Let me ask it like this. Once upon a time, I want you to imagine that there was an animal before the dinosaurs that was like a frogamander. And heck, let's just call it Frogamander. That had a big mouth like a frog, and the rest of the body is basically like a salamander's. This is easy to imagine because it turns out it's totally true. This is a type of extinct animal called a frogamander. That's not the official name. Frogomander. Batrachus. Okay, great. Is an extinct genus of amphibian that lived in the early Permian in Texas, or Texas. When it was first described ago. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, it looked like a bunch of it's a mashup, a mix up between the two of them. So it's trying to figure out exactly what it is related to. Blah 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 blah. It was only sorry about this. It was only 4 inches long. So it was like this. It was like this long. All right. So open your hand right now. Imagine you have a frogamander on your hand. Here is the frogamander. Its descendants went in these two very different directions. Now we have frogs and we have salamanders. Why? If you want to understand what an axolotl is, you need to understand that it's on the salamander side of the family tree. 20 seconds. Where's the different direction that they went in? Tails or no tails? You're right. You're right. There's something important going on with the tails there. Salamanders are skinny and have tails and small mouths, and frogs are big mouthed, no tailed. But like, what is how do I say this? Frogs swim up out of eggs, go up in the water, and get out of the water. True, though, it's also salamanders do that. Salamanders live in they lay their eggs water. Their babies are tadpoles in water. It's true, both of those. Why, though, is the body thing so different? I'm sorry, that's obviously the opposite of it being different. Let's grab a clue here. This is a hint or a clue, as we call it. Short tail, long tail, big mouth, small mouth, giant back legs. You know which one I'm talking about. Scrimpy, scrampy back legs. Why? One had more access to the water than the others. No. Hold on. No, I don't think so. Good guess. Whether they're pushing themselves legs first or arms first. That might be it, but there's something that hold on. I'm gonna give you a hint. I'm just gonna come up with something here. Which one of these is cold-blooded? Frogs or salamanders? 10 seconds. Which one is cold-blooded? The answer is both, except frogs. If you measure the body temperature of a frog, it's almost always warmer than the body temperature of a salamander. Oh, that's a good hint. That's actually useful. Okay. That's my hint to you. What is the difference? What is the difference? Why did evolution make one of them into one thing and the other one into another thing? I'm terrible at drawing all forms of this, so I'm just going to cheat right now and move this over to, oh, it's not working out the way I wanted it to. Well, okay. Oh, this is not gonna go well. So here's an, oops, this is the wrong thing. Ah, here's an eye, here's a bump, here's a bump, here's a small, well, it's not a small face. It's actually a really big face. What am I talking about? Tiny tail back there. Giant back leg. Except the front leg is kind of folded down. It's a terrible picture, but I warned you. Didn't I warn you? And here we have a head. That is a tiny little leg, isn't it? It's honestly kind of surprising how tiny it is. And a long back tail. I don't know what they're doing to back tails. I don't think I realized that before. Usually when I do real classes, I give people more help in drawing these things. I apologize that I'm not doing this right now. Bloop, 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 bloop. Isn't this satisfying? Hell, if it's not for you, it is for me. It really is for me, though. I really enjoy it. Oops. What? Oh, I turned that off. And I can get rid of both of these, and maybe it will still look amazing. That looks okay. That looks okay. At the top of this, I'm going to write down. I'm going to here. I'm going to use the fancy term. I never use this fancy term. Does anybody know the fancy term for cold-blooded? 10 seconds if you do. I don't know why I hit that button. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to show it to you right now. Ectotherms. Ecto means outside. Therm means heat. We actually don't, scientists don't use the word warm blood so much anymore because a frog usually has warm blood. Sorry, let me look at the chat. Did anyone figure out why it is that even though they're both cold-blooded, the frog has the warmer blood? You need to see rain frog. You should go outside at night. If you live by me, you thought this was a class about axolotls? Oh, no, 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 no. This is a class about everything. This actually, hold on, this actually bears underlining. In order to understand what an axolotl is, you can't just learn facts about axolotls. You need to learn facts about so many things. Because an axolotl is a salamander. So you need to understand what a salamander is. In order to understand what a salamander is, you need to understand what an amphibian is. In order to understand what an amphibian is, well, you really need to go back up to fish and then to all sorts of other things. um, we got to limit it somewhere for a class. This is this is what I see is so much of the problem with books for kids, science books for kids that are written about like axolotls. I got a good one actually recently, but it was not about like the general things that are true of axolotls, but that are also true of other animals. It didn't show you like the whole like evolutionary lineage and history of how nature ended up like turning the crank of natural selection again and again and ending up with an axolotl. It was just like, here's the fancy facts about axolotls. It was like they have it outside right now, but it was a good book. In order to understand things and not just waste your time thinking that you're learning, you need to like open your eyes to the epic depths of natural history. Okay. Thank you for saying that actually. This was useful. Probably a lot of people were thinking that. This is a class about Axolotls, but that means it has to be a class about so many other things. Okay. Maybe if I say it like this, I'm warm. Oh, I'm sorry. Ectotherms basically means can't control their temperature. Your body can control your temperature. You go out in a nice day and your body is about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. You go out in the terrifying cold and your body tries really hard to stay at about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. You go out in the 120-degree Phoenix sun and your body will do everything it possibly can to stay at about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're an amphibian and if you go out on a nice day, it's nice. If you go out on a really cold day, you freeze. If you go out on a really hot day, you cook. It's nice to be warm-blooded sometimes. I'm warm because I and I'm cool. I almost like chill, chilly because I, anyone know the answer to that? Frogs can move a lot. The citation for that is look at a frog sometime. My gosh, there's like the kangaroos of amphibians. They're almost warm-blooded. They can't control their temperature, but they actually literally, I guess, usually are warm-blooded. They're so active. You need that to be active. You need to be warm to be active. There is a temperature that cells like to be at. It's 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you want to be active, you need that energy to do that. You know, you actually need to eat a lot because you're warm-blooded to like keep that temperature going. They can't do that. They choose. They can't do that. They have another way of doing it. Stay in the stay in the sometimes in science classes you're supposed to say only plants can use the sun's energy, and they have this amazing way of using the sun's energy and turning it into chemical energy. It's totally true. Cold-blooded animals have another way of using the sun's energy, and it's not as cool, frankly, but it is really useful for them. Yeah, good. In the sun and in the shade. If you want to find frogs, go outside. If you want to find salamanders, go outside and start looking under moss. They're like Sicilians that way. Start looking under old leaves. They are calmer animals. They can't run very fast. They can't jump. They don't eat that much because they live in the shade. They don't get the sun's energy. This is true of all of them. You want to know what the oldest lived salamander is? The oldest lived salamander is called the olm. Olms live in caves. They are blind. They eat the tiny little things that come in the water and kind of just go into caves, but there's no sunlight around at all. I forget exactly how it is that they can navigate, but they can't. I think it's just by touch and smell. They can have like these maps of the world in their brains, other caves like in their brains, so they can like not get lost. It's pretty cool. They're obviously the non-creepiest type of salamander, but they live for 100 years sometimes. They put their whole body into this like slow motion. This is, to a greater or lesser extent, the way that all amphibians are. Sorry. To a greater or lesser extent, this is the way that all salamanders are, the axolotl included. Okay. What's in a shallow? 20 seconds. Go. You can guess the blanks. A half fish, half reptile who blank in the blank, but blanked to become a blank blank and a blank blank. The idea of salamander is very much in here. Who hid in the, not caves with them, never caves with them that I know about. E at the end? Yeah. This is the way that they've evolved. Evolution has made sun amphibians and shade amphibians. Salamanders are a shade amphibian. Okay, let's pretend this is going really well. Because it totally is! Now, all you need to figure out is how an axolotl fits in the salamander family. That brings us to, definitely is a picture of a salamander, chapter 3. I will give you, here, this has got a little public announcement. People come to Naturalists all the time and say, oh my gosh, I think I found an axolotl. This is because of Minecraft. This is entirely because of Minecraft. A very factual guide to animals that are not axolotls. Aspen wind. I don't know what this is, but this is a pretty cool infographic. Thank you, Aspen wind. Larval tiger salamander. I'm not sure. Tiger salamanders are actually the most closely related to axolotls. But it's the larval one. It's the baby one. That's interesting. Alpine newt. Nope. Anderson salamander. Nope. Axolotl. Yes. Ambystoma mexicanum. Common mud puppy. Nope. Texas blind salamander. Note that the color there is what, well, and the gills is the thing that makes people think it. The Spanish ribbed newt. Ribbed newts are definitely not because they don't have the, but they have the. Here's a beecher. Bitcher? I think it's actually supposed to be pronounced bitcher. Dinosaur bitcher. So that's amazing. A fish. It's actually a type of fish. It can kind of flop around and land though quite a bit. And you can understand why people think that that's an Axolotl, but there's not. Because sometimes people think that only the pink ones are Axolotls. They will miss an actual Axolotl for this. What's the question I want to ask here? What make like why? What makes an Axolotl special? You have 20 seconds. Go, 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 go. An Axolotl is like no other type of salamander. Why? We've kind of touched on this a little bit. More than a little bit. If you were paying attention, you may have heard it literally said out loud when I was reading one of the comments from earlier. Good job, semi-anonymous person from the past. That's good. No lungs, forever in water. They can grow part of the brain. Okay, so the regrowing part comes because of the other thing. So let me give you a hint for this. Do you know the one place in the world that they're from? I told you before that it was Mexico, but it's not most of Mexico. It's like one lake. It's one very particular lake. Anyone know about this? It's one very particular lake that used to be an important part of the story of the Aztecs. Anyone have any idea what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's I can, Xolomilco, something like that. Xolomilco. I'm putting like a weird Austrian accent, I think, on this right now. Okay, so here's the deal. In order to understand an axolotl, you need to understand this lake because this lake is like nothing else in the history of the world. So you go to Mexico these days, you can go to Mexico City these days. Here, I'm sorry. Sicily. Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay, great. So here is Mexico, and Mexico City is right here. Do you know? I'm sorry. Am I getting that wrong? I think I'm getting that wrong. That's so embarrassing. Here I teach people geography sometimes. So far away. Oh my gosh. This is shameful. Okay. So here's Mexico City. Mexico City is in this weird spot that I kind of looked at the spot before. The weird thing is actually the thing that made the Aztecs settle here. The Aztecs saw this area. They're not from here originally. They moved to this area because of a weird fact about this. Do you see the mountains that are around here? Specifically, these are volcanoes, right? You see the volcanoes that are around here. You see the little holes in the top of those? Those are all volcanic little spurts, sputtles right there. Do you see? My gosh, there's a lot of volcano. Look, holy crap! Look at the volcanic activity. I didn't even notice this before. Jeez, man. Wow. Okay. So, surrounded by volcanoes, they're like, yes, that place, that shall be the place we will raise our grandchildren. But there's something special about it because it's surrounded by these mountains, these other mountains on the one side, and and honestly, these other mountains on the other side that are, I think, mostly volcanic. In this situation, it means that this is one of the few places in the world that when the rain falls, it doesn't go right away to the ocean. It doesn't go through the lakes and the streams and rivers, whatever, go to the ocean. Instead, it stays in here. They liked that. They liked that because when the Aztecs, I'm sorry, a word about the Aztecs. The Aztecs, good guys or bad guys. I have a I have a degree in history. All of my professors in history would be horrified right now if I were ever found out that I was asking about the whether a group of a nation state were the good guys or the bad guys. Anyway, you have 10 seconds. Good guys or bad guys? Well, it's a funny historical fact. They would tell you that they were the good guys. All of the other peoples that they conquered brutally, all the people who they would conquer brutally and have them play this game that looks a little bit like modern day basketball, except the team that won would be sacrificed alive in really horrible ways. All of those people in the surrounding areas would say, you're the bad guys. Terrible imperialistic power. There's no way of really learning about this and avoiding that fact. Every society has things that are terrible about it. Every society have things that are wonderful about it, and the Aztecs no exception. But the standards are in modern day. We look back at them and we're like, oh my gosh, ah! Oh, not necessarily the tribes they conquered, but them. Um, they look actually super duper cool here. But you know, get the idea. They build this city, Tenochtitlan, they call it. It is the greatest, I mean, in some ways, the greatest history, what's the word? Greatest, just a second. Greatest city in the history of the world because it is built on this lake where all of the rain pooled together. They built in this lake. They were always by this like moving water. They could shower. They could bathe. Everyone there was clean. It was beautiful. That they used then the pyramids they built to sacrifice their conquered people. And then they were conquered by the medieval Spanish. The medieval Spanish, good guys or bad guys? You can answer whatever you want for this. It's fine. Totally fine. Well, they would tell you that they were the greatest guys ever. They went around what is now Latin America, so-called because Spanish is descended from Latin, and conquered people brutally. Um, about as brutally as the Aztecs did. Nowadays, we look back and we say, oh, they were definitely the bad guys. Actually, all of my history professors would be like, yep, but they're the bad guys. Interestingly, they then freed some of the other groups that the Aztecs had conquered. The other groups helped them, but then they were themselves conquered by the Spanish. It's this whole, it's difficult to say good or bad when you look back at this. Anyway, this is them being conquered by Hernan Cortez, who one of the really most interesting stories of history. It's really clever and outwits them, and then they all die. It's brutal and it's bloody. It's not good. Clever is not moral. Okay, why am I talking about any of this? Because it is this city that every single axolotl comes from. You can't understand an axolotl without understanding the city. So here's the deal. When the Aztec took this city, when they built the city, they turned the lake into a garden, into this amazing garden. The lake is here it is, Xochimilco. About 2,000 years ago, they built the city, made these gardens. You can see these gardens today. I want to do downtown. I want to do Lake Xochimilco with an X, of course. Xochimilco. Yep, that's right. Okay. So you look at this, you're like, this is not a lake. That's not a, okay, no. It's cooler than a lake. It's so cool. Look at this. You go down here. Google Earth, it's the best app ever. Hard belief on that. You can rent these boats and you can go all over here. Do you see how they built these farms on this? The way that they built these, you can like, these little rivers come into these little rivers, come into these little rivers. Do you see how this works? It's one of the more amazing agricultural, industrial, there's a word I'm going for here, architectural feats of the ancient world. They call these chinampas. Here's a model that someone has made of this. They built up these islands with muck. Muck deteriorates, it rots, it gets into the water. You think that sounds gross, but it's not. They kept the gross parts underneath there. They kept the water clear. There were so many nutrients in the water that they could have so many types of animals living in there. They could have so many types of animals. And whenever they wanted a bite, whenever the Aztecs wanted a bite to eat, all they had to do was like look around and find a salamander. Find a salamander that had come out of the water and grab it and kill it and roast it and eat it. This was like both the greatest salad bar ever and like, I don't know, like a greatest chicken wings place ever. I don't know, something like that. There's just like animals everywhere for their eating. They had 7 crops per year on some of these little islands. We have one crop per year in most parts of the world with farming. And they always had meat whenever they wanted it. This is why they were so wealthy. This is in part why they were able to like be really strong and like go conquer all the surrounding area because they were eating corn. You can see the corn that's being raised back there, the maize that's being raised there. And they could eat salamanders. Why do axolotls exist? 20 seconds. It's not just for food though. Natural crossbreeding. Oh no. Oh no. Quite the opposite. Good guess though. Okay. Adolescence. For all salamanders, what you have is it's not a very good picture. You have this become it's a terrible picture. It's a horrible picture, but that becomes this. Do you see the difference? They lose their gills, grow their legs. And this is the way it was for axolotls until about 2,000 years ago. All salamanders, except for one. Because what you have in an axolotl, same gills, it's a terrible picture, I apologize for that, is this one legs, legs, but they don't lose their gills. Terrible drawer today. Why? Dyron says it's because they had 2 habitats to traverse, the muck-filled area and the water, to help filter the lake. Coco is closer here. Asholos learned to not go on land, so over time they only had gills. They stayed in the water. Asholos need to stay in the water. Asholos can't really breathe air. They've stayed children. Why? Do you understand why? It's like they're children forever. Do you understand why an amphibian thinks that it's the best? Why would evolution do this? Create an animal that is does the land so does the water when it's a baby and the land when it's an adult? Let me try this. Fish are always stuck in the water. Fish can never leave. Fish can never get from one lake to another lake, from one ocean to another ocean. And maybe you think like, oh, who cares? They're fine where they are. And that's usually true. Reptiles are always stuck on land. The land is filled by terrifying monsters that want to eat their babies. Wouldn't it be great if there was a way that you could have the best of both worlds? This is what amphibians do. Amphibians in general sorry, finding the thing here. Amphibians are made for one very specific environment. Does anyone know what it is? They've evolved to take advantage of this little area that no other vertebrates, no other descendant of fish has ever done. It's not just water. Whales are in water. Elasmosaurs and ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs are in water. They are the creatures who are made for not just ponds, although ponds are a very big form of this. Yeah, nice job, Magenta. Do you see the genius of this? If if you want to keep your babies safe, what you can do, the best possible thing to do, is to put them in puddles. There aren't any big, terrifying fish in puddles. There aren't any, yeah, right. There's no sharks in a puddle. Now, the danger is the puddle is probably going to dry up. If it's a pond, maybe it'll stay around for long enough, right? But it'll probably dry up. So you have to put them in there for a little while and then have them escape. A puddle is like a nursery. A puddle is like this place that is perfect. It's the safest place ever. That's what amphibians kind of evolved, at least in the modern era, have evolved to do. What's in a Xolo? A half fish, half reptile, which is to say an amphibian, who hid in the shade, which is to say became a salamander, but 20 seconds. But this part happens about 2,000 years ago, to become a capital L, capital B. The final word is indeed puddle. Mutated to become a LOBO. T is the last letter. Very nice, Alistair. Lost boys. They don't grow up. Why? Because they don't need to. They're in this perfect land. They're in this amazing land where there's no need to grow up. They're kind of outside of the normal world. The perfect puddle is Lake Xochimilco. It's the greatest puddle the world has ever made. The Aztecs made it. But the Aztecs bred them by accident to become axolotls. Because whenever they would go through adolescence, the salamanders would go through adolescence, they would come onto the shore. And what would immediately happen to them when they went on the shore? They would be eaten. Do you see how the Aztecs evolved them by accident? Whenever they grew up, they were eaten. They died. And then about 2,500 years ago, we can trace the gene back. There was a mutation that meant that the salamander didn't grow up. Instead of going on land, it could stay in the water, stay in the puddle, because of the perfect puddle filled with all of the food. And if it came out of the puddle, it would immediately be eaten. I think you got it. What's an Asholo, a half fish, half reptile who hid in the shade but mutated to become a lost boy in a perfect puddle. The perfect puddle was Mexico City. So wait, if this is where they're from, why aren't they doing very well now? It turns out you can go to Mexico City. You can go, like, you become a diver, go in this lake. It's kind of hard to find an axolotl. Do you know why? Because it turns out that about 100 years ago, some people thought it would be a great idea to introduce a even more delicious animal to Lake Xochimilco, and that is a carp. They brought carp in. Carp love to eat axolotls. They devour them, and the axolotls just can't keep up. And they can't escape the water anymore because they're evolved to not be able to escape the water. It turns out that for amphibians, there's reason to want to grow up. Everyone, thanks for coming to this. This has been a pleasure. I will stick around for a few minutes and I'll answer any kid or adult questions about axolotls. I might know the answer. I also might not. When I learn about something, I sometimes don't learn I frequently don't learn like all of the details about that thing specifically. I always want to see like how does it fit in sort of like the big picture of life, the universe, and everything. Um, oh, keep your cameras off, please. I'll get distracted. And some of you, frankly, you're like really into axolotls. Some of you are really into. I've met some of you. It's frightening sometimes. So yeah, you guys can answer some of these questions too. Yeah, you're a delight. Thank you very much for coming to this. Um, oh, it's the end already. Oh, that's nice. If any parents would I don't know, one of the things that I do is I started in the process of showing people how it is that they can learn science more deeply and more wonderfully. If you're interested in that, just go ahead and ask, and I can show you some of the things that were kind of going on inside of this lesson, sort of how I sculpted, how I crafted this thing that might be of some interest to some people here. Just go ahead and ask for that. Otherwise, it'd be good. Oh, were the carp introduced on purpose or by accident? Totally on purpose. Totally on purpose. There's another type of fish. It's a catfish that they introduced to. What's interesting is that neither catfish nor carp are usually said to be tasty fish. So I don't know if they did a very good job of it, but they do live in the kind of brackish isn't the right word there. Murky waters of Xochimilco. So they do that really, really well, turns out. But why the cat on the cover of the chapters? Because why the cat in the background of me right now, right? I can't make my finger go that way. Wow, it's just a really weird geometry to sort of imagine that. I teach these classes throughout the year, and we always end the year with a class on animals. They're always connected to each other, and this year's was cats. So I was lazy. It's perfectly a laziness thing, and so I just didn't go and like remake the background pictures for this. Hmm. Oh, this is really good. Can I mention where octopi, since some of them can be out of the water for long periods? Okay, so this is amazing. If you want to understand, if you want to understand sea animals, you should understand. If you want to understand water animals, you should understand that it's not like there is a clean division in the world between land animals and water animals. Lots of land animals obviously go in the water, not just like to bathe or something, but like for like real deep reasons, survival reasons. And the same is true from the other perspective. So octopuses, I say octopuses, some people say octopi, some people say other things. Octopus on land, if I go to Wiki, no, I'm sorry, if I go to go to YouTube, there's a thing from the BBC. Octopuses are actually really good. Not alone in this. That thing that we saw before, the beacher fish, I always misspell that. Beacher seconds and here, take a look at this. Here's the beacher. I think actually it's less trouble legally if I have my own picture in this too. You think, oh no, that fish is out of water. It's definitely going to die. I know. Show us it. There we go. They can walk on land. They can walk on land. It turns out kind of okay. This is a frogfish. I don't think a frogfish is a type of beacher. It turns out though that evolution keeps turning fish into land walking animals because one, you can escape from predators that way pretty easily. Two, if you're already really good at being in really shallow water, you probably have the ability to go all the way out of water, at least for a short period of time. Your skin will dry out. This is a problem. This is why reptiles are so very, very cool. It's not just them either. Here, if we can also look up just fish on land, here is the mud skipper. Yeah, here's an actual picture of a mud skipper. They're pretty. Yeah. Okay, great. Any other questions? You see a rain frog before class ends. Yeah, I guess you can see a rain frog. Frog, I'm not gonna spoil your day. I'm gonna look up the one that I saw. No, I'm gonna do this. Hey, ChatGPT, can you tell me the name of the type of rain frog that lives in southeastern Minnesota? I don't I don't know why I say hello to ChatGPT. The Cope's gray tree frog. Great. So let's now look up. Doop 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 doop. Cope's gray tree frog, species amphibian. Here we go. Least concern. Looks prettier than this. Yeah, there we go. Isn't that neat? I like it. I think it's pretty cool. I just saw one. I was coming back from a vacation. It was late at night. I was out somewhere. Cool. It is cool how they blink. Oh, if you guys look at the screenshots, I can Manisha, I can send you the screenshots for this. Oh, hello. It was a pleasure to meet you at that summit as well. I mean, probably. I don't have any bad memories from that summit. Octopodus. No, it's a terrible name. Why? Cats are dinosaurs. Also, some people here like them. Do they have any intent to eradicate the carp? That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to it. Wouldn't surprise me. Carp are doing really well. How do we usually feed them? I mean, the axolotls, they eat tiny little tadpoles. They eat bugs in the water, these little shrimpy things in the water. They mostly eat meat, but they eat some other things there. Okay, are there no other questions? I like that some of you guys are getting to a fight about the proper pluralization of octopus. Okay, here's the deal. Once upon a time, someone saw an octopus. Well, this is true with lots of people in lots of places. The people who saw them in Europe were the Greeks. They called them octopodes. Octo means eight, podes means legs or arms or something like that. Then the Romans, who are like the Aztecs of Europe, they took that word over and they changed it to octopus, puss being their word that meant foot also. Then the English inherited this word, the English, yeah. Then people in England had this question of like, what do we do when we want to say there's more than one octopus? Now, note that we don't have this problem. We talk about, I don't know, cattle, or we talk about deer or something like that. We just say, oh, one deer, 15,000 deer, right? So you don't have to have this problem if you don't want to. You can always just use the word for the singular if that's the thing that you choose to do. Some people said, oh, like what we should just say is like, we should just, what we should do is like, we should go back to the Latin and say it is octopi, because that is how you make a word plural in Latin. The problem with that is it wasn't actually a Latin word to begin with. It was a Greek word to begin with. So then some people say like, well, that's wrong. And we're going to look down our noses at you. And we're going to say, actually, in Greek, it's octopodes. Those people are insufferable and I don't like them and I'm not friends with any of them. You can do it. It's cool. It's fine, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. The thing that I like to do is pretend, like hold my hands on the sides of my head and go like this, like get the brain flowing. Sometimes even like stroke my thinking beard and imagine that I'm speaking English. And then I say, this has been an English word for 1,000 years. In English, how do we make a word plural? Oh, we add on S at the end. And that's the answer. It's delightful when you have a great imagination. Life is easier. Okay, I am going to go. Goodbye. Manisha, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Brandon. It was wonderful. We're so happy to have you, and we'll do it again. And we'll find ways for kids to meet up and talk more about axolotls. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody!